This is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast. I am him, JIG. Subscribe, rate, or review, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Check us out. And don't forget about the Instagram at That Guy Jig, YouTube, Jigsaw Jimmy 17. Week 4 of college football is here, folks. In a couple of hours, we can get up, fire up the grills, and listen. If you're a professional, the grill's supposed to be fired up. The smoker's supposed to already be going. But if you're not, and it's your first time, it's okay. I'm still here for you. But either way, we're all up. That's the gist. We're up. It's Saturday. It's time for the bands. And we are here. Week 4. We have great matchups. We had some great matchups to start us off on Friday night. Friday night lights in college football is always a good time. Because, for me, it kind of makes it feel like these guys are back in high school a little bit, They get the spotlight, they get the stage, they get the national attention. And last night, Illinois took advantage of that, and they upset the University of Nebraska in Nebraska, bringing the Nebraska faithful back to reality. 26 straight ranked losses for the University of Nebraska. They are not back yet. This is a team that probably will go to a bowl game. Nothing more. This is a team that will take massive strides forward. Nothing more. I understand the hype. They beat Colorado. I understand that we need to hype up Ohio State's schedule. I understand that there was an opportunity for Nebraska to be 7-0 before going to that game. But listen, they're not there yet, folks. That defense played the absolute worst that I've seen that defense play in the last 2 years. And they were absolutely due. When you play great all the time, sometimes as a human, you fall off. And that's okay. And that is 100% okay as long as you bounce back. And I have 100% faith that Tony White and that defense, that's why Nebraska pays him so much money to keep him, they will bounce back. They will bounce back and they will be okay. But for the Nebraska faithful, this is where we must, taper expectations. Dylan Raiola missed a wide open touchdown that probably would have iced the game. Probably would have iced the game. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. He missed that. But I also think Matt Rule should have went for that on 4th and 3. I know what you're thinking. Well, Jig, the field goal. Well, he missed the field goal. You had your backup kicker, a guy who you're probably really not comfortable with in that situation. I think next time, or if I was the head coach, me sitting on the, as a couch head coach, I'm saying we go for this on 4th and 3. We've already wasted 6 minutes of this clock. So at this point, we must keep the ball as long as possible and try to win the game off of Dylan Raiola's arm and shoulders. Unfortunately, Matt Rule, which I will always trust a great coach like that judgment, unfortunately, the dice did not roll in his favor. But that's a part of life, and we move on. But Saturday, if Saturday is anything like Friday, it's going to be explosive. Did you see the Pac-12 after dark? If you didn't, I'm sorry, but it was an amazing game. Washington State, San Jose State, 2 no-name programs on as far as playoff contentions. We don't talk about these guys. But see, that's the beauty of college football, and this is what I was talking about a little bit last year, if you were with me, is that college football, yes, it's about the playoffs. It's about the conference champions, but I'm here to tell you, only 12 teams make the playoff. There's hundreds, there's thousands of universities, there's thousands of kids competing at a high level. And not all of these people get to the main stage. Not all of them get to Broadway. But with the power of the internet, with the power of these TV deals, we get to see some of these games, and you have to catch some of these games because there's NFL talent in these games. San Jose has a wide receiver that's probably going to be playing on Sundays. And that's okay. We have to be there. We have to be there to watch because these kids deserve it. And I'm telling you, Pac-12 After Dark is a hell of a thing. If you haven't watched it, you got to stay up late, especially if you're on the East Coast. If you're on the East Coast, I feel really bad for you. But if you can do it, stay up. But let's get to the game for the day, folks. I got a few games that I think are going to be really good ones. Starting off with NC State and Clemson. I think this game right here, this has the making to be a very good football game. Now, I know it's in Death Valley. I know how hard it is to win in Death Valley. But they're giving NC State 17.5 points right now. So in a sports gambling mindset, I'm taking that 17.5. Yes, Grayson McCall has been very subpar so far in his time at NC State, but I do think he will improve. I think that beating that they took to Tennessee should not affect how you choose on this game. Tennessee is a very good football team. Josh Heupel has something going over there in Old Rocky Top. They're going down to Norman today to show the world just how good they are. That defense over there in Rocky Top's a lot better than what people think too. So that's what I'm saying. Overall, don't let that game have an impact or too much of an impact of how you choose this game, especially if we're taking spreads where we're almost at 20 points on ESPN betting on ESPN gambling sites. That's a lot of possessions. Now, Clemson is going to come out hungry. Clemson is going to come out ready and effective. And I think Dabo will try to send a message. But are they that good? That's what it comes down to. Is Clemson that good? Because when we saw them play Georgia, I understand Georgia is at a different tier. Georgia's at a different level. But they did not look good versus Georgia. 34-3 is not a good showing. Not putting up any touchdowns on the offense is never a good showing. And I understand this is Garrett Riley's first season in Clemson. This is his first offensive install. This is his first roster to install his offense with. So I understand there's some hiccups. Cade Klubnik, he's going to pick up the offense. But overall, do they have the weapons? Do they have the athletes and the skill that they've had in the past to compete and blow out teams? I don't know. I know they can blow out App State. I know they'll blow out Stanford. Florida State is not who we thought they were at all. I know a couple of Florida State fans, and I haven't heard from them in a couple weeks. I'm starting to get worried. But when it comes to Clemson, I just don't see them blowing this team out. This team is going to come out a little more motivated to show that they aren't that poo-putt. So that's a game you want to look into. USC and Michigan. Who would have ever thought the USC-Michigan wants a Rose Bowl game? This was a true Rose Bowl game right here back in the day. Is now a Big Ten game. This is a true Big Ten matchup. We got Alex Orji under center for the Wolverines, which I believe he should have been there the whole time. I think that one guy had a very good story. He beat cancer or beat leukemia, whichever one it was. Sorry, don't kill me. But he beat whatever. He won his battle for life. And then they made him the starting quarterback. And in his two showings, I just didn't see it. Now, I know we're going from J.J. McCarthy to this guy. He doesn't have the skill, talent around him, blah, 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 blah. But the guy just did not look good. He didn't look comfortable. It looked like the stage might have been too big for him. Listen, there's a lot of practice All-Americans. All right, I want you to understand that. In the game of football, there's a lot of people that are just practice All-Americans. They're very good at practice. But when the lights come on, when the crowd noise turns up, when that band starts revving it up, when high pressures become intense, these guys crumble. And that's what you can't have. USC's coming in with a better defense. They're coming in with a quarterback named Miller Moss who's completing 70% of his passes. 70% of his passes, folks. They have a solid run game. They have a solid defense. Held LSU to 20 points. I'm telling you, watch out for SC. Lincoln Riley had a chip on his shoulder. He went out and did what he had to do. He made the change. I always speak about how coaches have an opportunity. When you want to cross over into that next level, into that upper echelon of coaching, you have to make a change. All coaches, all the great coaches, all the good coaches, okay, they all have early success. They have their good early success. You see the future. It's bright. But then they get hit with something. Adversity. Lincoln Riley had a great couple of years at OU. Had Baker Mayfield, had Kyler Murray. I mean, you name it, he had it. Spencer Rattler. Then he went through adversity. He left. Immediately left. Went to USC, and he struggled for 2 straight years. And during those 2 years, what was everybody saying? Lincoln, you have to make a change. You have to make a change. You have to get a better defensive coordinator. This man cost himself national championship opportunities. Make no bones about it. If this defense was installed when he had Caleb Williams, they win more. And I know we only have seen a small sample size of this defense. I know we haven't seen a full-on buffet. Like, no, we're not at Golden Corral. But damn it, these portions at Costco that they're giving me at samples are fucking good. They're delightful. They taste immaculate. I want the whole pie because of what this sample size has given me. And I'm just saying, as a couch quarterback, as a couch coach, you put this defense that we've seen for the past 2 weeks on that offense with Caleb Williams and Jakari Branch and all those athletes that they had. USC is a problem. USC is in the playoffs. Jig wins his parlay. That's what happens. Life's a little different. I might be living in the French Riviera. I don't know. But what we do know is USC is playing better defense. Miller Moss is a very competent quarterback. It looks like Malachi Nelson didn't make the right decision in transferring because you are not seeing the field. Miller Moss is in complete control of this offense. He's a guy that was built for this type of offense when you really look at it. He was built for this type of offense where you have athletes at your disposal. You have guys making crisscrossing routes. You have deep, middle, short. You have easy reads. You have a running back that is a monster behind this offensive line. And you have a competent coach and a competent defense behind you. Miller Moss is led to lead USC to the playoffs. I'm calling it now. If USC stays healthy, if USC continues to play this brand of defense, USC will be in the playoffs. You mark my words. They will be in the playoffs. Now this is for my sports gamblers. Notre Dame and Miami of Ohio take the spread. We are taking Notre Dame to cover. They are pissed off. Marcus Freeman understands that now he has to win, and he has to win big. The margin of victory for what a stutter that was, America. Notre Dame's has to have a huge margin of victory. They cannot have a small margin of victory anymore because they lost to Northern Illinois. Now, Northern Illinois is ranked now. They're ranked number 23, and that is huge. That is huge, folks, because now this makes that loss not look as bad later on in the season. Because Northern Illinois could go undefeated. If they go undefeated, that loss to Notre Dame's loss to them does not look as bad, meaning Notre Dame will still be in a position to make a playoff. They don't have any true road games until USC. I think USC is their first road game for a long time. So until then, look for Notre Dame to cover spreads, to beat the living hell out of teams because they have to. It is because they're that much better. Sorry, it is 100% because they're that much better than Miami of Ohio. But they have to. They have to have huge margins of victory. I think one of the bigger games of the day. There's two big games of the day for me. And they're both in the great state of Oklahoma. Let's just cut the crap and let's just get down to the meat and the fucking potatoes. The two biggest games of today are both in the great state of Oklahoma. And we're talking about Utah at Oklahoma State. And we're talking about Tennessee at the University of Oklahoma. We're going to start with the 2 o'clock game, which is Utah at Oklahoma State. And I'm going to talk as if Cam Rising is playing. Because I do not believe you rest him to bring a true freshman into Boone-Pickens Stadium. That is not what you want to do. That is not what you want to do. Now, Utah has playmakers, folks. Utah is coming off of 2 straight conference championships in the Pac-12. Utah is expected to win the Big 12. Make no bones about it. And their fan base lets you know. And they have some very solid wide receivers. They play wide receiver by committee. They got Parks and Singer. If you haven't seen these two guys play, they're pretty solid wide receivers. They're going to get it done. The running back, Stanley, he gets it done out the backfield. He's a dual-purpose back. So they know they have athletes. And then also, they always have a tight end recently. I feel like they are starting to be a kind of low-key a tight end U because of the tight ends they're putting out over the last couple years. Now, this defense, that's the strength of this Utah team. This Utah team is going to be very fundamentally sound, and they're going to play that Kyle Whittingham system. This is a system guy. Him and Gundy are two very similar coaches as far as they're not going to get the best talent, but they are going to develop the best. And it's just that simple. They will develop players that get overlooked. And they are perfectly fine with that. They understand that, and they understand the assignment. I expect this to be a grueling game. Oklahoma State has not been able to run the ball like they were advertised. Before the season started, we were told Oklahoma State was returning all these stars on the offensive line. They got the best running back in America, but good wide receivers. You can't load the box. Blah, 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 blah. The same thing we're always told. At the end of the day, media outlets, they tell us their opinions, and sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. But as of right now, Oklahoma State's run game has not been what it's supposed to be, and that could be a problem versus a team like Utah. Because Utah is going to look to take away the little run that you have. And they're going to make Alan Bowman beat them. He had a huge game versus Tulsa, so his confidence should be back up. He has a great wide receiving core. I like Oklahoma State's wide receivers versus Utah's secondary. Now, Utah's front seven versus Oklahoma State's is going to be very interesting. That inside run game is going to be a very interesting game none the least. But if Alan Bowman can beat man to man, if Alan Bowman's wide receivers can get open, if they can make men miss, if they can get that yak to run after the catch, this could go in Oklahoma State's favor. I like it because I already like it because you're at home. If you're Oklahoma State, that's the first thing. You're at home. Next week is a big week for Oklahoma State. They go to Kansas State. They go to Manhattan. So in the next 2 weeks, the top three teams should all be playing in some capacity. And this is why this is a huge week for the Big 12 and a huge week for Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State needs this win. In my opinion, they should be able to go 500, win this game, and if you take a loss next week, it's not too bad because you still should be able to make the Big 12 championship if you win out, which I think Oklahoma State is very capable of. I think Oklahoma State is capable of winning both of these games. I think this game right here will be the tougher as far as athletic team, like overall team talent. I think Utah is a more talented team than Kansas State. I think Kansas State poses a different type of issue with their run game, with their RPO game, with Avery Johnson. But overall, as far as the team, I think Utah's team talent is better than Kansas State's. So I think with Cam Rising playing today, I think Oklahoma State should get the win. They're at home. I think Boone Pickens is electric. I think if Oklahoma State was going to lose in their first 3-4 games, it would have been the game where they gave up 600 yards of total offense. I don't see them giving up 600 more yards today, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Hell, I was wrong last night. Check my action account. I'm 2-2. We got to bounce back like Viagra today. And that's what I'm telling you. I think Oklahoma State gets this dub today at home. I think it's a close game. And I think it's a low-scoring game. I don't think this gets too high scoring. I think this is going to be a defensive battle. Because overall, I think Oklahoma State's defense will be more dialed in. And I think Utah will be able to stop Oklahoma State's run game for the most part. I think Ollie Gordon, if he is truly the best running back in America, this is the time for him to prove it. If Ollie Gordon is the best player running back, if he's the best running back in America, today's the day to prove it. Because Utah will key in on him. These next 2 weeks are going to be huge for him. And I personally do have Ollie Gordon as one of the top backs in America. And I do believe that he will show the goods today. He will show the goods today. I got Oklahoma State at home with the win. And I think it's a low-scoring game. Big game for them, low-scoring game. Now, the other game down there in the great state, the Sooner State, Tennessee is coming in against Oklahoma. What a way to start your time in the SEC. Oh, Nico, one of the highest ranked recruits ever at Tennessee, is finally he's showing what he got paid for. He's showing why they brought him in. He's showing the arm talent. He's showing the RPOs. The guy's the real deal so far. I think Brett Venables in this defense will give him some problems. This game comes down to nothing. Look no further than the offense of the University of Oklahoma. If the University of Oklahoma, if the Sooners offense can put up 28 to 30 points tonight, they will win this game. If they can be competent for 4 quarters, they will win this game. If they can score 7 points every quarter, they will win this game. It's just that simple. I do not believe with any bone in my body that Josh Heupel's offense will be able to get going against Brett Venables in this defense. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to be able to get bombs. I'm not going to be saying they're not going to get their shots. They have great athletes. They have Squirrel Wright. They have Matthews. They have great athletes on that offensive side of the ball. Not even to mention Dylan Sampson, great running back, good offensive line. Brett Venables is a defensive mastermind. I think his defense will be ready. I think this game comes down to one thing. I'm telling you, if OU's offense continues to be monotonous in the second half, if it continues to not have playmakers, they will lose this game because you're going to have to score points versus Tennessee. That's my only point. Tennessee's defense is solid. It's good. It's a very good defense. It's a good defense to have if your offense is that good. If my offense is capable of putting up 40 points a game, give me that defense. If I have to take in this relationship, I'm taking that defense. Because at the end of the day, you have to put up points to beat me. And that's what has been OU's problem the last few weeks. This offense has been terrible, to say the least. I haven't seen a consistent run game. The pass game, Deion Burks from Purdue is an elite. He has to be able to get the ball in his hands. But we need other people to step up. There used to be a point in time where OU was putting up 50, 60 points a game. Not like every game, but I'm saying you would see that, at least within the first 3-4 games. We haven't seen them just come out there and just run it up. We haven't seen it. Last week was a bounce-back win for them, and it was 34 points. 51 points week 1. That's what I'm talking about. It was against Temple. But still, you put up the 50 ball. And even then, the second half of that game, which is what I'm talking about, you put up 17 points in the second half. I get it. You're up 34-3. You're up 34-0 at halftime. Understandable. But you still have to put up points. The name of the game is putting up points. Then that terrible second half leads into a game where you put up 16 total points. Yeah, you were missing offensive linemen. Understandable. There's context. I get it. I understand. But you were at home and you put up 16 points. And then you bounce back. Once again, terrible second half. You put up 13 points. You got to have some consistency. You got to be able to put up points in the second half. Adjustments get made at halftime, folks. That's why I'm so big on second halves. Adjustments get made all the time. So what are the adjustments going to be made right now? You're playing a team in the first 3 games, they put up 69, 51, and 71. And if you want me to be a dick about it, they've played about the same schedule as you. Houston might be more as a more tougher opponent than Kent State and Chattanooga. I'll give you that. But if we're going NC State and Tulane, I would love to see NC State and Tulane line it up. I bet you that'd be a pretty good fucking game. Overall, my point of this is Nico is not playing any games, folks. We're just not playing any games. We're talking about against NC State. They're putting up 17 and 14 points in the third and fourth quarter. 17 and 14 points in the third and fourth quarter, folks. You're getting better as the team. Your adjustments are there, and that's what it's about. It's good to have a great start. It's good, but can you finish that great start? Because that team's going to go in there and make adjustments. OU plays great defense. They played great offense the first half, but the last 3 games, What's happened in the second half? Nothing. You got to be able to drive that stake in. You got to be able to score more points in the second half. That's what it comes down to. Can this offense give you 4 quarters? If this offense gives you 4 quarters and this defense continues to do what they've been doing, OU wins this game. OU will win their very first SEC game in the SEC and start off 1-0. But if OU's offense cannot, and they keep playing like this, OU will start off 0-1, and it could get ugly because Tennessee is going to put up points. I cannot reiterate this enough. They are going to put up points. Other than that, let's get down to this money. Now, listen, we got picks coming up on the Instagram. We put the picks on the Instagram, so follow the Instagram at That Guy Jig. But here are just a couple. I'm going to give you a couple picks, and then you can get on the Instagram and get the rest. We're taking Virginia Tech minus the spread. We're going Virginia Tech to cover the 3.5 versus Rutgers. That's what we're taking. Rutgers is 1-9 over their last 10 on the road straight up. We're going to go with Vatech at home to cover that spread, get us some bread. We're taking Kansas money line, folks. We're taking Kansas money line. Kansas versus West Virginia. West Virginia is not a good football team, but it is in West Virginia, so I can understand it's going to be a tough place to play. But overall, I'm rolling with the Jayhawks to get back on the right foot and get this dub. For more picks, follow the Instagram, That Guy Jig. And make sure you hit that subscribe button. And once again, this is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast. I am him, JIG. Subscribe, rate, and review, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get them. Check me out. We get into the money. Check out the Instagram at That Guy Jig. That's where all the picks are at. It's time, folks. We are here Saturdays. May your Saturday just be full of glory. Just full of glory. I hope your team does well. I hope you are at your peak and you don't have to visit those valleys. But remember, stay even killed because high peaks create low valleys and that'll kill you. Subscribe to the podcast. I appreciate you. Peace.